most important board might be the most bureaucratic. Hey, I am Chuck the Bureaucrat, and today I want to talk to you about the Senior Service College Selection Board that picks which lieutenant colonels are going to go to Resident War College and which ones are going to do the box of books. Remember how in my video about calculating the likelihood that you'll get selected for colonel, I talked about how going to War College is one of the primary indicators that someone's on the right track to become a colonel. I also explained that there is a systematic reason for that. The way I view it, it's not attending War College that sets you apart from your peers, it's getting selected for War College. And between you and me, just getting selected can be kind of a complicated process. So let's dig into some of the important points of the fiscal year 23 Senior Service Selection Board, and you'll see what I mean. Before we get started, the way to get the official guidance for these boards is to go to the Human Resources Command website that posts MIL-PER messages. And I'm going to be focusing on two MIL-PER messages in particular. 2390, which was for Army Reserve officers, and 23152, which was for most regular Army officers. You chaplains and JAGs and medical guys, I did not review your messages for this video. And just so you got an idea of where I'm going with this video, we're going to be talking about eligibility, opting out, delivery methods, that's either distance learning or resident, and the active duty service obligation. And then we'll put it all together so that you can see what this means for your career. But before I get into it, there are two cautionary points that I have to make. Number one, I'm reviewing the FY23 rules. The policies and procedures that govern the Senior Service Board can and have changed. So when the time comes, read the FY24 guidance carefully. Second, there is a lot of information in these MIL-PER messages, and I'm not going to be covering it all, particularly the dates. So make sure you read the FY24 guidance carefully. All right, so let's talk about eligibility. Although the MIL-PER messages say it slightly differently, in FY23, both boards considered all lieutenant colonels who had 1 year time and grade and anybody in the rank of colonel. These are obvious eligibility criteria, but this issue of time in grade and rank are important. The board is looking at a wide range of officers, some with 1 lieutenant colonel OER, others with, maybe 5 or 6. This is not at all like a promotion board that focuses on 1 year's worth of officers who are in the primary zone and therefore have basically the same number of ratings. And at first glance, the wide eligibility of the Senior Service College Board sounds great. But in FY23, the Senior Service College Board was an opt-out board. That means that if you meet the eligibility criteria, you will be considered unless you take action to opt out. And there are instructions in the MIL-PER message on how to opt out of the board, but they take effort to implement. You got to know that it's an opt-out board and you have to take action or else you're in. So here's the next thing to understand. Those boards are filling seats for the whole range of delivery options for Senior Service College. That includes fellowships, resident, and the Army War College Distance Education Program. Now, let's just pause for a second so you can see where I'm going with this. The board looks at packets with a wide range of maturity levels. Officers are getting considered unless they opt out. That means that some junior lieutenant colonels are getting vacuumed into this board simply because they didn't know to opt out. And those junior lieutenant colonels with immature packets, they run a serious risk of getting selected for distance learning. You see, in FY23, it was a one-look board. Once an officer has been considered by the board, been selected for distance learning, they do not get considered again. Finally, check this out. Officers incur a 2-year active duty service obligation even if they disenroll from the distance learning program. All of this suggests that you have to think pretty carefully about how you present yourself to the board. This is one of those situations where you have to take charge of your own destiny. I know you guys love stories about my career, and for me, I lucked out when it came to the Senior Service College Board. I got to spend a whole year as a fellow at MIT. It was hugely educational, and I think everybody should try to get a fellowship. But that happened because I wasn't paying attention to the instructions for the Senior Service College Board the first time I tried to apply. At the time, it was an opt-in board, and I screwed up the steps to be considered. I was livid, and so I did what everybody does when they're angry about some sort of problem with HRC. I called my branch manager. That must just be a great job. He told me, "Too bad, Chuck, you're out of luck." But then he pointed out that since I had effectively delayed when I sent my packet in front of the board, that my packet was going to be more attractive when it finally got there. I'm not sure if an extra year of OERs boosted me into that fellowship, but at the end of the day, I was pleased. So in a couple of months, when the Senior Service College Board gets announced, read the guidance carefully. And in the meantime, watch this video to see the traits that are going to make you a great colonel.